Hi there, I'm Kopotic Quality Control Manager here at Banjo Company. Today we're going to be going over the coordinator rod, what it does and how to adjust it. Over the years people have asked me, what is this metal rod running through the back of my banjo? What does it do and why is it there? First, most important thing it does is it connects the neck to the pot. It keeps it from falling off while you're trying to play. Second thing it does is it adds a little rigidity to the pot, allows the pot to give you a nice solid tone so it's not sloppy and moving all over the place. Third thing it does is it allows us to fine tune our neck angle a little bit to get that action right in that sweet spot. It makes playing it nice and easy for you. The tools we're going to need are pretty simple to accomplish adjusting the coordinator rod. First, going to need a good tuner. That way we can tune our banjo back up to pitch. Second, a small Allen wrench or a screwdriver, something that'll fit inside the small hole in the middle of the coordinator rod to hold it still while we adjust it. Third is a 1/2-inch wrench for adjusting the nuts on the end of the coordinator rod. Fourth, we're going to need a ruler or another measuring device so we can check our string height off the end of the fingerboard. And finally, on our good times and several other models that use a single coordinator rod, we'll need a 3/8 inch or a 5/16 inch nut driver, depending on the size of the nut in the pot. First thing we need to do is check our action and see where our strings are sitting. All of the banjos that leave during Banjo Company are set up to 1/8 of an inch space between the top of the 22nd fret and the bottom of the string. When we measure this banjo, it's sitting a little below that measurement. So what we're going to need to do is adjust the co-rod and bring that action up. First thing we do is we're going to flip the banjo over to get access to the coordinator rod. Once we have it flipped over, we need to check how tight our coordinator rod is and the nut inside the pot holding the neck on. Over time playing, things can loosen up a little bit, just like the banjo head itself. We need to go through and make sure everything's nice and tight before we start adjusting. So I'm going to take my wrench, my little Allen wrench, stick it in the hole. Now it was a little bit loose, so I went and tightened that up. Now I'll use my nut driver. Now it was a little bit loose there too. Tighten that up. Want to make sure they're nice and snug, and that way your neck is getting a nice firm connection to the pot. It'll help that tone be real solid and sweet. Once we've done that, since we need to raise our action a little bit, I'm going to use my Allen wrench to hold the coordinator rod still, and we're going to loosen this outside nut about a 1/2 turn, followed by tightening this inside nut. And what that does is, by tightening this inside nut, it's pushing this coordinator rod out, which is slowly tilting the neck up a little bit and removing some of that neck angle. We only want to go a 1/2 turn at a time so there's no drastic movement on our action, and we can make sure we fine tune it. I'm going to check my action now, and just that 1/2 turn brought the action right up into that 1/8 inch sweet spot. Some people prefer a little bit lower action or a little bit higher action depending on your style of playing and your attack. This will help get that right where you want it. If I wanted to lower my action, what I would do, hold my coordinator rod still, I would loosen my inside nut here about a 1/2 turn and tighten this outside nut. By tightening this outside nut, it's pulling the coordinator rod that direction, which is putting a little bit more angle in that neck, thereby bringing those strings down just a little bit. Once you're done adjusting your co-rod, you want to make sure these two nuts are nice and tight. Tune your banjo back up to pitch and enjoy playing. In some of our other line of banjos, the Deering, the 10 Brooks, the Vegas, we use 2 coordinator rods. It's very similar to adjusting the single coordinator rod that I just showed you in the good time. When you look inside, you'll see a rod inside here that doesn't come out the other side of the pot. This main rod that does come out the bottom of the pot is the one you do all of your adjustments with. The second rod is on these models to add a little more rigidity to the pot, give it a little more solid sound. When we start adjusting this, we're going to take all of our tension off of this bottom rod, the short rod, so we can do all of our adjustments with this rod. We need to hold it still, back this nut off, so that it free spins. And just like we did with that nut inside the good time, we're going to check and make sure that this rod is nice and tight. You can see it's loosened up a little bit, so it's good to make sure that's nice and snug. With that nut still backed off, we're going to go ahead and check how tight this long rod is. That one needed to be tightened as well. We're going to set the action back to that 1/8 inch by following the same technique, whether we want to loosen this inside nut, tighten this outside one to bring the neck back and the action down a little bit, or tighten this inside nut, loosen the outside one, pushing the action up a little bit. Once we're done, make sure both the inside and outside nut are tight. And then make sure this lower nut is nice and snug against that pot. Once you're done getting those all nice and tight, we'll flip it over, measure our string height, which is right at that sweet 1/8 inch, and enjoy playing from there. So we went over how to adjust the coordinator rod. You need very simple tools to make this happen. A tuner, a ruler, other measuring device, so that way you know where you're at with your action. A small Allen wrench or a small screwdriver to help A, tighten the coordinator rod, and B, hold it still while you're adjusting the nuts. A 3/8 or a 5/16 nut driver depending on the model you're working on. Most importantly, 1/2 inch wrench to make those adjustments. Make sure you're doing very small 1/4 to a 1/2 turn adjustments at a time and measuring when you're done. A little bit goes a long way when you're adjusting this action. Make sure everything's nice and snug before you tune it back up and start playing. That way your tone is nice and solid. Make sure to check back with us for further tech tips. If you have any other questions, we can help you with anything else. Make sure to check us out at daringbanjos.com or give us a call. We'll be glad to help you. We'll see you next time.